Lewis Hamilton's found himself in a bit of form. George Russell's performing well at the moment. Arguably the most consistent driver pairing on the grid. Okay, Jack, let's talk about Mercedes. So we've done a Red Bull half the season review. We're now going to do a Mercedes deep dive. We're going to talk everything about their resurgence and potentially Kimi Antonelli coming to the team to replace Lewis Hamilton. Right, let's start with their resurgence though first, right? At the start of the season, it didn't look like they were going to be absolutely anywhere.
It looked awful.
If I said by the summer break, they would have 3 race wins under their belt, what would you say to me?
You're deluded.
Exactly. So where has this come from?
Well, Mercedes R&D department.
Apparently.
That's where it's bloody come from with the upgrades. And I've been saying literally every other race, haven't I? Since Miami, was it? Mercedes bringing upgrades.
Yeah.
Mercedes bringing upgrades. They're bringing more upgrades. And it's proved right because they bloody upgraded that car, haven't they?
They had I remember, it was like a 5-race plan or something like that. They brought a small but significant upgrade to every race up until Silverstone. And then Silverstone was where we saw them actually kick on properly.
Yeah. We saw that, didn't we? Silverstone. And then obviously they did bring that upgrade to Belgium as well, which they took off the car.
Yeah. Weird.
Which was quite interesting. It is weird, but I think they took it off because it did perform how they wanted. But I think the track being wet and new surfaces and everything didn't risk it. And so they've essentially got a whole new floor to come in the Netherlands when we get back to it.
Which should be very, very interesting. Mercedes, it's been one of their stronger-ish tracks in this new regs era. So maybe they might go well. We don't know yet. But speaking of Mercedes, though, do you think going into this next half of the season, do you think they are the front runners with McLaren now ahead of Red Bull, or do you think Red Bull still eclipse them?
It's a close one, isn't it? I think McLaren are the front runners, and I think Mercedes are still behind McLaren. But in terms of Mercedes and Red Bull, I think they're thereabouts with each other, and it'd just be track dependent between them two.
Yeah, it's quite close, isn't it? I mean, Ferrari not far behind either.
Ferrari very, very close behind them too as well. I think McLaren just have the. I think McLaren just like the edge, and then I think it'll be McLaren 1-2 tenths ahead.
Yeah,
maybe, and then Mercedes and Red Bull about half a tenth between them.
Yeah,
and then Ferrari about 1-2 tenths behind.
So it is quite close, and
going
into the next half of the season, we definitely could see more race wins for
100%.
Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton's found himself in a bit of form. George Russell's performing well at the moment. Arguably the most consistent driver pairing on the grid, other than maybe Lando and Oscar.
Yeah, well, arguably, yeah. I mean, if you were to say a team could bring them back into a challenge, it would be Mercedes.
Yeah, 100%.
I wouldn't put it past them a couple 1-2s now.
No, it's very much on the cards. It's not impossible, so we could see it.
100%. And it's nice to see, in a way, that Mercedes are back at the front. I hope it's not a dominance, to be honest with you. But it could very well be.
Winning the last 3...
trajectory.
Well, yeah, winning 3 out of the last 4 races is insane, considering where they were at the start of the season.
Yeah. So, considering that they were battling for 9th.
Yeah.
At the start of the season. And now they're winning races and controlling races in Hamilton's case at Belgium. Completely under control. Wasn't ever in any danger really from anyone after he took that lead.
No. And what I thought was interesting is that only one of them has really been a fluke. Austria. George was still on the podium, which is quite impressive, but the fact that Max and Lando took themselves out meant George won the Grand Prix, but then you moved to Silverstone. Both George and Lewis were on the pace. Lewis rightfully won as well. Move on to Belgium. Lewis rightfully won even more in that race than Silverstone. And obviously, not to mention the crazy strategy by George. It was a 1-2 until he got disqualified. So Mercedes are on the pace. Very much so.
Mercedes, by definition, they're back.
They are. They are back.
Mercedes are back. You
so
can't deny that.
It's good to see, and it's been an upward. I think probably the coming into the summer break, probably my most. I'd say probably on the most upwards trajectory, and probably the most positive team on the grid. I think at the moment.
I think so. I think if there's a team that's going to have a real feel-good factor about it going into this summer break, it would be Mercedes out of everyone.
100%, 100%. So let's move on then. Lewis Hamilton will leave Mercedes come the end of the year.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi's going to be really emotional, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to cry. Kimi Antonelli is set to replace him. It's not confirmed, but he is the front runner.
Yeah.
Is Antonelli the right choice?
Yeah.
You think so?
Well, I think similarly, which is quite interesting here, to what Mercedes have done. Antonelli has grown and got better as the F2 season has gone on.
Yeah, he has, yeah.
He's got better. He started winning a few F2 races now.
Yep.
And I think that Silverstone win that he got in that wet proved how good he is. He absolutely wiped the floor with that F2 grid. And that's not an easy feat because that F2 grid's good.
Yeah, and we got to remember, apart from... I mean, it is what do you call it? Oh, what's the word? Spec series. That's it. It's a spec series. So it's every single car is exactly the same chassis. It's the only things that changes are the drivers and the team setups and the amount of fuel and the tires and everything. So, you know, it's down to the teams. And it is a spec series. So, you know, you're fighting almost on equal footing. Obviously, whichever team you're at makes the difference because the teams have various different experience in strategy and setting the car up and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's why we saw Antonelli not do too well along with Behrman at the start of the season because both of them very good drivers, but Prema just had a woeful start to the season. But yeah, they've grown into the season and Antonelli's been doing really well. So.
Yeah, and arguably past couple of races outdoing Behrman.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously, we know how good Behrman is with how he performed at Saudi in that Ferrari. Obviously, got his seat confirmed at Haas.
Yeah.
We're all over Behrman deserves a seat in F1. Antonelli, same machinery, same team, outdoing Behrman. Why not Antonelli deserves a seat in Formula 1?
Yeah, you're definitely right. The one thing I will say about Antonelli on this topic of is he the right choice? At this moment in time... no.
It may stop Mercedes winning the Constructors next year.
This is exactly what I was thinking, right? If the trajectory of Mercedes and the front runners keeps converging together, if the start of the 2025 season is as close, if not closer, as it is right now at this point in time, come the end of the Belgium Grand Prix, Mercedes have the right and the chance to win the Constructors' Championship, if not the Drivers' Championship as well as McLaren, as well as Red Bull, as well as Ferrari.
Yeah.
If they are going to win the Constructors or the Drivers, Antonelli's he's going to 100% take time to get going. They're relying on one driver for maybe 6 or 7 races while Antonelli integrates himself to that team.
Yeah.
And, you know, we don't expect him to be winning races straight away. If they had Lewis Hamilton, if they kept him around for one more year, 100% think if it is as close as it is now, next year, Mercedes have one of the best chances to win a Drivers and Constructors than they did since 2021. Antonelli, it's the right time. It's the right time and the wrong time, right? Because the right time, they can bring him in, integrate him into the team before the new regs, which means he's ready to go for the new regulations. If Mercedes hit the ground running, it's bless.
Yeah.
But if Mercedes have any chance of winning any sort of championship next year, I don't think they're going to manage to do it with Antonelli.
But in saying that, anyone that they would bring in, though, Mercedes, do you think they could bring in anyone who, if these cars are all this close again, could fight the pairing of Lewis and Charles?
You see, you make that statement, but that's a very giving up sort of attitude.
No, it is a giving up sort of attitude, correct. But obviously, maybe Mercedes have just got the eye on the drivers maybe next year with George.
I mean, we're forgetting about... The issue is...
I mean, Max has carried Red Bull.
Yeah, but
George carried Mercedes.
George is not going to carry Mercedes to a constructors.
No, he's not.
But if it is as close, you can't count George out for the World Drivers' Championship. You can't.
You definitely can't. And obviously, if Antonelli is that second driver, they've got a clear number one, Mercedes. And I would say they're throwing all eggs in that basket. So we're not going to see a Lando Oscar situation at Hungary with them.
No, that's true. That's true. It's just an interesting dilemma.
It is an interesting dilemma, but it's scary because I think it's almost impossible to get as good a driver lineup as Ferrari will have for next year.
Yeah, it's impossible. They have the best driver lineup.
Well, I mean, obviously, if Lando and Max were in the same team,
that might eclipse it ever so slightly.
That potentially could eclipse that. But Lewis and Charles, depending on who you prefer, I mean, you could say Lewis and Charles is better than Lando and Max.
I mean, realistically, the best driver lineup on the grid is Max and Lewis, if you had the chance.
Yeah, what about Lando and Charles?
Yeah, that's not bad, is it? That's not bad, is it?
So, do you know what I mean? I mean, it'd be hard. I mean, if, say, we go into next season with Antonelli and Russell, Perez and Max, Lando and Oscar, Lewis and Charles, I'm putting that constructors in a positioning of probably Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull, Mercedes.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. And it's not because Antonelli's a bad driver, but unless you're Lewis Hamilton and you can hit the ground running because he's quite literally an unnatural phenomenon back in 2007, you need time to integrate yourself.
You never know. Antonelli could.
Well, no, that's the thing. He could be the next Lewis Hamilton, but you can't assume every driver is the next Lewis Hamilton, is the next Max Verstappen, is the next Ayrton Senna. Some drivers will become world champions, but they do need to take time to get going. Jenson Button, right? You have these drivers. Nico Rosberg. They're still quick, but they need time to integrate. And you can't assume... I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you say, okay, do we look for the future? Do we look for the now? Mercedes could easily win the Constructors next year if they went with Carlos Sainz. Experience at the front. George and Carlos. They could have...
If Mercedes had wanted to go for Alonso, for Carlos...
Yeah, they could have easily done it.
Definitely, but... I do think they're looking future 2026 Antonelli. And Antonelli, you got to remember, he's 17.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
He's not 18 yet. He's nearly 18.
Yeah.
But he's not quite 18 yet. Like, this kid is ridiculously good.
Yeah.
Like, he has been tipped as the next Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
He has. So, do you want to miss out on that drive? Obviously, we've heard Mercedes missed out on Max Verstappen.
Yeah, they did. They did.
So, do Mercedes want to run that risk again of missing out on Antonelli? Because obviously we know Antonelli's Italian.
Yeah.
Ferrari are there. It would make sense, Antonelli and Ferrari at some point in the future.
Yeah.
Do Mercedes want to miss out on Antonelli right now?
And you don't want to risk as well. Red Bull have 4 cars available.
Yeah.
Yeah, Red Bull can easily offer Antonelli a seat and then go. I mean, imagine Max Verstappen and then a 2 or 3 season veteran Antonelli. It'd be unstoppable.
Yeah, but then you got Liam Lawson.
So, well, this is the thing. Red Bull could offer Antonelli a seat, but Mercedes can't because they don't have a junior program. But now they've got the opportunity to. I think they need to. So, in my opinion, it is a yes, it is the right time, but no, it's the wrong time because the one chance that Mercedes have in years, guaranteed to challenge for any sort of championship, they're choosing to pick a rookie, which is dangerous, but also you've got to integrate him for the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's risky, but the risk could outweigh the reward later on.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, but either way, let us know in the comments, what do you think about Kimi Antonelli? Do you think it is the right choice for Mercedes, or do you think potentially they're throwing away a championship next year? Is it better to look for the future? Want to get all the comments in down below, and we'll see.